What's up? All right, so why you should not buy the 13-inch MacBook Pro with Touch Bar? Well, if you compare it to our MacBook Air, for example, yeah, it kind of makes sense why you shouldn't buy this thing. You got no F keys, but you do have a touch bar that looks really sleek and sexy and ooh. And there were people who really liked that feature when it first came out in the Intel Macs, right? And now, of course, due to popular demand of very few people, Apple decided to do it again, which was stupid because, well, they had a lot of problems with the touch bars and apparently still have some issues with these things, even across into the M1s. So, me thinking, now a good plan to buy one of these things. But you're also getting nothing more than an a MacBook Air, okay, that's overpriced and no F keys, but you get a sexy little touch bar, okay? Now, hey, let's take a look at what we do really get here. 8 core by 8 core, great. 16 core engine, 8 gigs of unified memory, useless. 256 gig SSD, useless. 13-inch Retina display, True Tone. Me thinking, that sounds the same display to me. Magic keyboard, yep. Touch bar with Touch ID. Well, you don't get the touch bar on the MacBook Air, but of course you also lost all your F keys. Now, 2 Thunderbolt USB 4 ports. Interesting. Okay, and for the entire price is $16.99 Canadian. Or you can step it up, and all you've changed is you're getting a half a terabyte now storage. Very ideal on the storage, finally. Great for start anyways, but still that useless 8 gigs of unified memory. Now, I will be honest with you guys, when it comes to the RAM in these things, you do not want 8 gigs of memory. I've pointed this out way too many times. Plus, I even bought a base model Air just to prove a point. But also, if you can do one thing at a time and that's it, most tasks you're going to be fine on. You'll stay away from that good old swap virtual memory area of your SSD and it'll stay healthy for years to come. But if you go into it too much too often, say goodbye to your SSD. These things are not designed to withstand the brutal punishment of swap, okay? Although they are very fast and work very well, they are not designed to handle it on the long haul. And yeah, anyway, so here we are with our Air. Now, of course, we're going to take a look at the base model first for $1,300. 8 core by 7 core, and it looks like everything else is the same spec as the Pro, but except we get thinner, we get lighter, we get sexier, we get more color choices because we get gold. Yes, I love gold. So that's why I bought mine in gold. Otherwise, I never would have bought one because the silver, And space gray is it's not bad, but, I'm a gold kind of fanatic. Anyway, so let's step up the game here to a whole 1649. What do we get? 8 by 512, and of course, everything else the same, right? Well, I'm kind of thinking, let's select this one just for giggies, right? And let's go to 16 gigs of RAM, okay? Now, that's only $18.99. Now, that's maxed out RAM because, as you know, with the first release M1s like the Air, the Sucker, the Mini, which I happen to have with 16 gigs of RAM in it and a half a terabyte, as well as our iMacs, which we do have different levels of the iMacs, but they're all stuck at 16 gigs of RAM tops, which is plenty of RAM for most people, especially base users and kind of mid-tier level users. Anybody really serious about computers and what they're doing, yeah, you're going to want a little bit higher end Mac. And we do have them. We have the 14 and 16-inch MacBooks, very nice. And of course, we have the new Mac Studio. And Apple's about to unleash some new toys soon, but I'm not having too much hope in real improvements there quite yet. But we'll see what they release anyways, because, yeah, they got to do something a little bit better. But anyway, so in looking at this, we're at $18.99 for the Air. Now, this is a great base configuration, and that's what it should be coming out of Apple. But of course, for the lower price of, come on, $1,300 is where this should be at for the Air. as a 16 by 512. What's it costing them? Not much. So why don't they do it? Well, they got to kind of do that whole variety thing, right? Here's the little bit we're going to give you to tease you with, and when you're not happy, then you can just, turn that in or sell it privately for more money, actually. And you can upgrade at that point. And we have seen thousands of these base model 8x256s for sale. Even I've seen 8x512s. Why? Because people are finally figuring out, oh, wait a minute, somebody's onto something here. 16 gigs is where we need to be, not 8. Okay? I've even seen a 16x256, and I'm like, you spent that much money on RAM and you had no respect for having a bigger hard drive. Okay, this is interesting. Let's get back for a quick second, though, to our other MacBook. So remember, $1899 as a 16x512 for the Air, which is much nicer, in my opinion, and some amazing battery life, too. But all of our features of ports and all that are exactly identical, okay? So let's go back here, and let's go to the Pro. La, la, la. And we want the exact same configuration. So we're going to step up the game to where we did before, right? Because either way, you do it. It's kind of like, well, you're going to have to upgrade this and this and that. No, let's just go to here, okay? We start already at 1949. Okay, let's be gentle. Let's go here first then and try it. See what happens. Okay, so remember with 8x512, start at what? Well, we'll go back to it. Anyways, 512, 16. Boom, $2,200. Wow. Okay, so what happens if we go the other direction? Ooh, let's start to scare the heck out of me a little bit. Anyways, okay, so we start out at 1949 just for a whole half a terabyte. So, $21.99. Wow, $21.99 versus $21.99. You got it. You won today's prize of figuring out it's all the same. Anyway, so you know when you take a look at these things, it's kind of like, well, they do kind of look nice. I love the new keyboards. Well, actually, old keyboards, made new again. But these touch bars are a bloody. I mean, I thought at first when I tried one at Best Buy, it's like, well, I mean, the speakers, they're a teensy weensy bit maybe better than the Air because, we do have a slight bit more thickness, so a little bit more, okay? But who cares about a little bit more sound when we actually need to have something that's going to be stable? Now, I've had absolutely zero issues with my Air, okay? And I've got the bottom of the barrel, right? Now, keep in mind, guys, like I said, I bought it to prove a point, but in my usages, I have been using this thing a lot, sitting on the lazy boy, which is what I wanted a laptop for anyway, right? And I'm checking my emails, doing my comments, and that's all I'm doing, right? Plus, I have my usual 3 tabs plus open, right? Like I have my Facebook, my 2 email accounts, plus I'll even, I'm on YouTube, so 4 tabs there, and I'm checking comments. I might even watch something in between commercials. Mute the TV for 10 minutes because it's about the commercial time anyway. We really get so ripped off on our TV shows. Let's watch a 1-hour show, and it's only going to be 20 minutes anyways. The rest of it's all commercials. So anyway, so we have all the same things. We have the exact same processor. We're gaining nothing, right? We have the same display. We have the same keyboards. We have the same, Touch ID thing. I love that Touch ID for like signing into stuff online. It's like, oh, my finger, ding, I don't have to remember stuff. Don't have to type. But I mean, the only one thing we don't have in the Air is the touch bar, but who cares? I mean, it's been a nightmare anyways in the Intel machine. It's not a whole lot better than this one. And I have seen even a lot of this model for sale, not long after people bought them. Oh, only 1 month old. I really don't like it. Oh, only 3 months old. Yeah, I kind of upgraded to something a little bit better. More like, I really hate this piece of garbage. I mean, Apple does have their flops, okay? I mean, this has been one of them in the Intel range. So none of us actually really know a lot about this laptop can understand why Apple would bring it back. I mean, there's just not enough demand that we can totally see why people would really want that touch bar, right? And it's kind of like, but they did it anyways. They do answer their customers to a certain point, right? I mean, my theory is, hey, let's take that wonderful GPU and stick it on the outside, away from the stupid processor, right? And give it its own dedicated video RAM, and these M1s would be unstoppable, especially for gaming, even on something as minimalistic as these first entry level machines. They would be real cool for gaming. But no, Apple said, oh, we can't do that. It's all one chip. So separate it, right? You could have done that in the beginning. And still time to change your ways and do it now, and that would make sense. Dedicated video card inside the computer. It's not going to take up much space. If Apple can get down to like 5, 4, and 3 nanometer tech, and they can do what they've done even with gluing these processors together and making them steroid monsters, I'm sure they can actually do a lot better with the video being on the outside with its own video RAM, okay? Because, as a gamer, you guys know, if you're a serious gamer at least, or even a mid-level gamer, that video cards are the ruling factor in being able to play video games, right? If you have integrated video on your chip every single time, you are totally yankied, okay? I mean, you're not going to be playing any AAA titles very well, if at all, right? Even AA titles can struggle with integrated graphics. But if you like really cheesy video games, then you can do it with integrated video, no problem. Enjoy yourselves. Okay, well, the rest of the world is like, we want to play games. All right, so anyway, I really think that this is something that, even if you see one used, run. It's not worth any problems that are going to creep up with the touch bar. It does still have some issues, okay? So, yeah, it's really, I don't know why they didn't fix their problems first, right? I mean, they may have fixed a few things, but there's still a lot more left over. But, this thing is not financially worth the money. I mean, think about it this way. Let's look at this. And the air, I mean, if you wanted to bring the air up to a little bit more snuff, but, at 1949, we're at an 8 by 512, okay, configuration, right? And only a 13-inch display. Now, keep in mind, this display on this MacBook and the Air are just a little hairball above 2K, like just a little, all right? So, but if we go 16 by 512, okay, we're going to pay $21.99, right? That's $2,200, right? So you really don't want a really super upgraded Air either, because it can get really nasty too. So let's take a look at what else do we have in the Mac Pro line. We have, my goodness, the Supercharged that starts out at $2,400, or well, $25 actually. Now, what do we get for that? We get an 8-core CPU. Nothing changes there. We still have 4 efficiency and 4 performance. Ugh! I really hate what they're doing with that. Well, at least in the 10-core, you do get 2 efficiency, and the other, 8 cores are performance. So it's like having a real 8-core processor machine for a change. So that's actually better if you want to really get into some gaming here. Okay? But you're still not playing too much in the way of AAA stuff. Not very well. But anyway, but we do get an upgraded GPU. Wow, we get better graphics for gaming with, because these things game actually way better than the other M1s, right? Just because of that GPU increase alone. But we already get it with 16 gigs of unified memory. Wow, and a 512 SSD. For only a few bucks difference, but what else do we get? We get a 14-inch Liquid Retina XDR Pro display that's in 4K. That's like twice the horsepower of the other ones. We also get 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. Yay! HDMI port. Congratulations! SDXC card slot, which all of us people who are YouTubers especially, and using DSLR cameras, or anybody else in the world using DSLR, or cameras that require that kind of a card, guess what? We have a slot now. We don't have to buy a hub. MagSafe. Woohoo! That's finally back. Oh yeah, because by the way, out of those 2 ports on the MacBook Air and on the Pro, one of them is for your charging cable. Okay, the other one, it's open, but that's it. Okay, but you can resolve that with like hubs and stuff, right? And stuff hanging out everywhere. Anyway, but we do have a MagSafe 3 port and Magic Keyboard with Touch ID. These all have Magic Keyboards. I love Magic Keyboards. Okay, Touch ID, great. Force Touch trackpad, yeah, great. 67 watt USB-C power supply, yeah, that's great too. For all of $2,500, for like very minimalistic money, you start out with a really ideal base configuration. Now, you can go to Best Buy right now today if they have them in stock, and you can buy this exact machine. You don't have to custom order from Apple, right? It's already there. Now, just keep in mind with any of the Macs in the last several years, what you buy off the shelf in the stores, that's what you're stuck with. There's no upgrading RAM, there's no upgrading the internal SSD, ain't gonna happen. Okay? They are not upgradable after purchase. So even when you custom order, be sure you get the amount of RAM you need. Be sure you get the hard drive space you need, because there's no going back after other than to turn it in or sell it privately to get most of your money back and then order a new one with more in it. So let's go and see what we get though in this thing for available upgrades. So this is much better, right? So we can go, still stuck at a 10 core processor, but we can go to a 14 core GPU. Oh, that's already there, 16 core neural engine. But we go to 10 core processor over 8. That's great. 2 more cores. That means we're at 2 efficiency and 8 performance. Yay! Okay, that's a lot more performance than that 4 and 4 split stuff. Okay. We could also go to a 16 core GPU, still being stuck with the 10 core. We could go max at 10 core by 24. Okay, you get in the math here. Like we're still stuck at 10 core no matter what, but we can still get that GPU running up there a lot better. Okay, now it is costly, I must agree. I mean, hey, but I mean, you want the best, you pay for the best. Now we only get to go to 32 gigs of unified memory though, when we're with the M1 Pro. But if we go max, configure the 14-inch to a max. Now I will say this for the record, guys. When it comes to my thought process of buying my next MacBook, I'm gonna go after the 14 over the 16. I'll tell you why. The extra 2 inches is bonus. I mean, it really is. I mean, it does make a world of difference. However, the trackpad is so huge on there at the size of 12 football fields, I can't even type on the bloody thing without having my hands on the trackpad. This thing, the trackpad is smaller, so I can at least type on it with minimal accidental boo-boos happening, okay? So that actually is a bonus. I like the idea. And that 4K XDR display, oh my gosh, is to die for, okay? So it's really cool. But anyways, if we go max chip with this, we can actually get to 65 gigs of RAM. Now, you really, for non-professionals, you really shouldn't need more than 32 gigs, okay? So unless you're a pro, 32 gigs at the top end is as much as you really need anyhow, okay? But as far as hard drive size goes, or SSD, the starting point recommendation for me to you guys is, anything is 16 by 512. That is a great starting point for base to mid-level users. If you're a little bit more serious though, and you're going to keep this thing very much on the long haul, I would definitely up that to a 1 terabyte for beginners and mid-level people. For more professional people, definitely you got to crank up the juice more. And that's going to depend on what you're going to do. Now, one last piece of advice I'm going to give everybody. Stop running multiple programs at once. I don't care how much horsepower is in these things. If you want to avoid a lot of problems and glitches in your computers, stop running multiple programs at the same time, especially if you got low RAM. Because even 16 gigs of RAM, guys, I'm serious. I mean, it's fantastic. But when you start running too much stuff at once, you're going to suck up that RAM. Okay, like we got one tab open here. We're running Chrome. Now, Chrome and Safari, I've done extensive testing for RAM usage, and they're not much different. Okay, now we're going to have to let this thing sit and collect its slots for a minute. But we're at about 5.82 gigabytes of RAM in use right now, which is not bad. I mean, on an 8 gig Mac, you still got a little teeny bit left over. I've still got like, almost 11 gigs left over. Okay, which is good. But just because I have it doesn't mean I should be using it because it's all your RAM is also being used by video, right? So if you go and you fire up, another program, not only are you taking up RAM for the program to run, you're also needing video RAM to run that program, whatever it may be, right? And the more crunchier the program, the more it wants to suck from everywhere. But also, you can get glitches. It's kind of like, don't try doing a audio recording while you're trying to render and export a video because it's all going to go funky on you. Things can happen no matter how much RAM you have. I mean, it can happen, right? But really, why make the machine overwork? I mean, if you want to keep your thermals down too, and I mean, thermals can affect the performance of your computer, right? Because the hotter things get, they can get a little farty, right? And you really don't want that going on too much, because it's not a good thing, right? It's not like you're going to blow up the computer or anything, but you could definitely screw up your project if you have too many things going on at once, right? And this is a problem that I've seen a lot of, channels, even when the M1s first came out, they're like, oh, look at all these programs I can do all at the same time with only 8 gigs of RAM. And sure, I'm into swap, but look, there's really no real performance hit I can really see. No, yeah, well, do the final product. Let's see how good it is. Okay? But anyways, so this is like the reason why you don't go into this MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. I mean, the thing is just an absolute piece of junk. They shouldn't even have invented it. And I'm not the only one saying this. There are many channels that are saying the exact same thing, is to stay away from this 13-inch jobby because it is just junk. Junk is junk is junk, period. And when you look at the cost and really what are you getting? I mean, for your money, like seriously. Wow, Anyway, like I said, Apple's not perfect. They make some boo-boos. This is just one of them. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with these M2s that everybody's so excited about. Okay, and some people are like, well, we're really not going to see much else. Maybe a couple extra GPU cores and something like the Air, and a redress, of course. It's like, I don't want a redress of the Air. I like the Air the way it is. I'm not going to buy another Air. I already got one. So anyway, and one day it shall float away because it's the Air. Anyway, okay, bad joke, but it was kind of funny. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao, guys.